Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar, Suarez, all players who star during the World Cup, occurring every 4 years. The World Cup brings in millions of fans from the host country and millions of fans watching on TV at home around the world. The World Cup is hosted by FIFA, an organization who runs most of the soccer events, tournaments, championship matches all across the world. So what am I here to talk to you guys about? Well, the World Cup is the most watched sports event, and it's enjoyed by billions across the world. Although, the amount of money for a country to spend to prepare for a World Cup becomes extremely excessive, which then causes the host country's communities to become enraged. FIFA, the world's leading football organization, just takes the profit and leaves the host country with absolutely nothing. That results in the surrounding communities becoming extremely enraged. My first point I'd like to make is that the Brazilian government had spent excessive amounts of money for the World Cup preparations for stadiums in Brazil. Brazil had spent around $15 billion for the 2014 World Cup, while for the previous World Cup in 2010, the South African government had spent just around $3 billion for its transportations and stadiums. Brazil, they already had stadiums, but they didn't want to use those stadiums. They wanted to build more and more stadiums that can accommodate more and more people. 4 of the 12 stadiums used for the World Cup had become white elephants. Some were faced with hosting weddings and children's events to just generate some income. Several were expected to host a few games for the Rio Olympics, but not all 12 stadiums were used, so basically they were just used for absolutely nothing. One stadium in Brazil is currently used for a bus depot, not even used for actual soccer games. Arena de Amazonia in Manaus, Brazil is currently unused and has no events placed at that stadium, along with it being barely used for the World Cup. Now, this stadium was also in the complete middle of the Amazon rainforest, but still. The seats are coming off, people don't even want to work there anymore, the Brazilian government isn't trying to fix it, it's just becoming a hot mess. Many stadiums have become negligible for the country. They're just sitting there abandoned, although it costs tons and tons of millions and millions of dollars just to make it. Communities all across the country of Brazil had become enraged with the excessive amounts of money spent once they had officially found out. One protester in Sao Paulo told the press, "I'm totally against the cup. We're in a country where the money doesn't go to the community, and meanwhile, we see all these millions spent on stadiums. Here, surrounding communities are complaining that the government money doesn't help them out instead. They just spend it on unnecessary stadiums. The Brazilian government spent money on stadiums they barely even used, and as a result of this, communities had a complete negative reaction towards this. They wanted the money to be built for hospitals, schools, nice facilities for the communities. Throughout the duration of the World Cup, protests near stadiums had occurred to show the community's enragement. Millions of people throughout the World Cup have protested to highlight corruption from just staging the World Cup. Many people include low-income government workers, and they have demanded more wages after learning of the cost of the World Cup. Officials even say striking teachers also staged a rally in a Rio city center, further disrupting traffic to get to World Cup stadiums. Certain stadiums weren't even going to be ready for the World Cup, and it became an arduous task for the Brazilians to finish in time. FIFA official Valky has also visited Sao Paulo's Itaquera Stadium, which fell even further behind after Jonathan Watts for The Guardian reported that there was a fatal accident in November. He stated that local organizers said the stadium would be inaugurated on the April 15th, which was less than 2 months before it is due to stage for the opening match of the World Cup. Yet, it was cutting extremely close to the opening match, so FIFA had to come in and fix it up. As a result of this, many people in nearby communities thought, oh, FIFA is forcing our country to spend more and more money, so we should hate on FIFA and we should kick FIFA out. Although the surrounding communities had confluted towards the Brazilian government, they started to investigate on FIFA themselves, and they found that they're a corrupted organization. They have money bribers in their organizations just to get locations of the World Cup. They divert money funds from the FIFA World Cup. They claim they're a non-profit organization, but they clearly make profit off of the World Cups. And it's just more and more to add on to the fact that this extremely enrages the communities, and just having the World Cup there just isn't helping that anyways. Although FIFA has heard these accusations about forcing countries to build stadiums and bribery, they've deleted any corruption from their new rule of guidelines to show that they're not going to bribe anyone or make any kinds of death threats. Jacob Boggage, a writer for BBC, states, and under a new rule, defamation violators can be banned from the sport for up to 5 years. Here, FIFA is trying to show that they want to get rid of the ignominious accusations against their world officials and become a better organization. FIFA didn't tell Brazil to build ridiculous stadiums and go way over budget. Brazil felt like they needed to. They needed to accommodate more people, so they spent the unnecessary money on these ridiculous stadiums rather than building schools, hospitals, funding for education, and many other things. And the excessive spending just won't stop there. By 2022, for the World Cup in Qatar, it's approximately going to cost $220 billion. This is about 60 times more than the $3.5 billion spent by South Africa for the 2010 FIFA World Cup. Workers in Qatar constructing the stadiums are protesting currently because they're not getting paid enough for the excessive amounts of money that their country is spending to construct those kinds of stadiums. How would you feel if you were living in both of these countries and your government was spending excessive amounts of money? And you're living in the poorest communities, and you have terrible facilities, terrible schools, not very good educations, terrible hospitals, terrible medical facilities. How would you honestly feel? To conclude, in both past and future World Cups, communities have been enraged with the amount of spending in billions and billions and billions of dollars. Nothing is changing. As you can see from our past World Cups, the spending is going to get even greater. It was $3.5 billion, $15 billion, $19 billion, $200 billion. I mean, this is just crazy. Something needs to change. World Cup spending cannot be this much each and every 4 years, doubling, tripling, quadrupling. Something needs to change. This is absolutely crazy, and communities cannot keep on protesting and becoming enraged with this kind of result. Thank you.